According to reports, Arizona defensive end J.J. Watt is expected to miss the rest of the season as his shoulder injury looks like it'll need surgery. The three-time Defensive Player of the Year had 10 tackles and 1 sack during his first year with the undefeated Cardinals, but injuries have become a consistent theme in the second half of his career. So, Shannon, how much will Arizona miss J.J. Watt?
Not much. He's just been a voice in the locker room. He hadn't been an impact player on the field. You mentioned it, Jenny, 1 sack. I got him down for 16 tackles. I think you said he had 10 tackles in 7 games. Basically, Marcus Golden has been one of their best player because Chandler Jones hasn't been that guy as impactful as he was the first game when he got up to that great start. 5
and
sacks.
Returning.
He's returning from the COVID list. And Marcus Golden has 6 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. Chandler Jones, as we just mentioned, Skip, he just got activated off the COVID list. J.J. Watt is not he's J.J. Watt in name only. He's no longer the impactful player that he once was. His first 5 years, Skip, he played in all 16 games, all 5 years. In the last 6 years, he's only played 8 games or more twice. And you go back, dislocated elbow in 2012, 2015 had a torn adductor, herniated disc in his back in 2016 that required 2 surgeries, a tibial plateau fracture in 2017, torn pec in 2019, now shoulder surgery in 2021. He had, Skip, now, his first...
By the way, just to put that in perspective, so he missed 13 games in 2016, 11 games in 2017, 8 games in 2019, and if he's not going to play anymore this year, that would be 10 more missed games.
Correct.
So that would be
that's the equivalent.
42 games over
almost 3 seasons.
6 years. That's 7 games a year if you just do the math on it. Go ahead.
So, and Skip, so look, but his 5-year peak was as good as anybody that we've ever seen. He's the only man that can say, on my resume, I have 2 seasons in which I've recorded 20 sacks in a season. No other individual can say that. He has 3 Defensive Player of the Year. Only 2 other men can say that. That's Lauren Taylor and Aaron Donald. Now, J.J. Watt was on a peak to arguably be the greatest defensive player to ever live. But injuries have robbed him of that. Skip, there's a reason why the Houston Texans let him go. And they were so unwilling to let Deshaun Watson go because they know Deshaun Watson can still play at an elite level and J.J. Watt couldn't. That's why they let him go. Skip, the Steelers not letting T.J. Watt go. The Rams are not letting Aaron Donald go. Even the Raiders were foolish. Think about it, Skip. The Raiders let Khalil Mack go and then tried to trade back for him. And then John Gruden said, well, you know, pass rushers are hard to find. Well, you had one.
Although right now it seans like the Texans are about to let everybody go, including the quarterback, right?
They're the seller's market right now, Skip. But look, they're not going to miss J.J. Watt because he's not impactful. He's a voice in the locker room. He's a presence in the locker room. He has not been impactful on the field. So I don't believe they're going to miss him.
So I hark back to our very first day here back on September 6th of 2016 here on Undisputed as we launched this show. And one of the first great debates that we had was over this man, J.J. Watt.
I remember.
And you were making the case that he is the best player in football of any position. And I'm like, Tom Brady. And then I start listing quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers. Here we go down the list.
Drew Brees, you went on quarterback.
Like I went 10 deep on quarterbacks, and I said, well, I'll take any of these quarterbacks over J.J. Watt because it's a quarterback's game. And I'll win more games with any of these 10 quarterbacks than you'll win with that guy. But I couldn't argue with especially what he did in 2012 when he had 20.5 sacks. That was highly impressive. It's just hard to dominate the game from an interior defensive line position. Early on, they moved him a lot more than mostly lately. He's been statuesque in the middle of the line, And your man Wade Phillips, we've had here on the show. You played for him in Denver, obviously. He once upon a time, when somebody asked him early on, J.J. Watt was struggling, is he going to be a bust? And he said, he's going to be a bust in Canton, as you have a bust in Canton, as in Hall of Fame bust.
I actually talked to Wade about that. And Wade has coached some of the greatest. He coached Reggie White, Ricky Jackson, Bruce Smith, Von Miller. And I said, you know, he said, Shannon, he's right there with all of them. I said, with Reggie, with Bruce, Shannon, he's right there with all of them. I'm going to take the man at his words. You know, Wade has been D.C. and a head coach for 30-plus years in the NFL. He said it. I believe him.
Okay, so I did endorse the signing this year of J.J. Watt, just as I did even more so with A.J. Green on offense, because they've been there and done all that. And with a younger team on the verge, you need those voices in the locker room, if not some impact on the field. And I think A.J. Green has had more impact on the field than J.J. has had so far, right? although J.J. impressed me more than I thought, because even though he just had 1 sack, if as I started looking at quarterback hits, he had 10 in the first 7 games, but he had 9 in the past 4 games. And his point was, I came late, didn't have much of a camp, so I had to sort of play my way into shape here. Well, the problem is he has to play his way into shape because he's just beat all to hell.
Exactly.
And I still say, even though he became a social media dynamo, that helped just detonate his popularity, is how great he's been on social media.
Yeah.
But he also tried to live up to it by posting YouTube stunts, right? They're like workout stunts where I'm saying, I don't know about that, because to me, to my eye, that is threatening your career longevity, right? Why would you do that to impress so many thousand people on YouTube when it's not going to matter to your longevity in this league? And all of a sudden, right on schedule, starting our first year in 2016, he missed 13, and then he missed 11, 8, 10. Here we go again, and it's shoulder. And every problem is completely different from the last problem. Because you listed it. We went from back to broken leg to torn pec muscle to shoulder surgery. It's like we're going all over the body. It's not a recurring back issue.
And he doesn't have injury, Skip, that keep him out 2 weeks.
No.
He has injuries that put him out for the year.
Yep. Well, that's the 4th time in the last 6 years that it ended the year.
He's done.
Okay? So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see a Hall of Fame arc to his career. Not that he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame, because he will be, obviously, but we didn't get to see it.
For 5 years, Skip, from 2012 to 2016. I don't know. I mean, obviously what Aaron Donald is doing now, but you're going to be hard LT. But it's hard to find very many defensive players that had a better, even if you just take their career, than what JJ did. Now I'm going to take LT's because LT was MVP. LT was rookie of the, that would be the equivalent if Michael Parsons, Skip, won Defensive Player of the Year. Because that's what LT did in 81.
He did.
He was Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. And in 86, he followed it up with an MVP. One of 2 players, he and Alan Page, was MVPs as a defensive player. But J.J. Watt's arc, Skip, when I say arc, it took off like a rocket.
It did.
It wasn't no graduate. It was like... And then Skip, and as fast as it took off, it seemed 2018, Skip, he had 17 sacks. We like, okay, he got a rebirth, a resurgence. And then 2019, right on cue, boom. Okay, so speaking of the LT, as in that guy, listen, Lawrence Taylor, for our younger viewers, you should They don't do it justice. We can't do it justice.
You can't understand.
No, you can't.
How he dominated the entire league. You can't fathom how much he scared offenses, how much quarterbacks lived in fear of him. He once upon a time on Monday Night Football, as you remember, he broke Joe Theismann's leg, and a compound fracture came through the skin. Every time you see the chop, he did that. How about this, people at home? I know y'all know who T.J. Watt is, and I know who Aaron Donald is. If you put those 2 guys together, you got LT. Okay. So why do I always tell you that I favor the edge rusher over the defensive tackle? Oh, yeah. Because the defensive tackle is too caught up. We can double him a lot easier. You can just stymie him because he needs to hold that line, as in stop the run. And I'll give you that. J.J. Watt's great at that. But T.J. Watt is more valuable to me because you can line him up on the edge, and now you've got some Von Miller going. I watched Von Miller be the MVP of a Super Bowl because he took the game over from Cam Newton. And it was sort of Cam's game to lose to me because he was the MVP of the league. And I can't remember if they were favored or not, but he was favored to have a big game. I know that. He was the betting favorite to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. And Von said no. Von took it over. He took the game over because he literally just took the ball out of Cam's hands. He blindsided him. He terrorized him. 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. It was just... It was a game for the ages as an edge rusher because you can beat one guy and get free and get to the quarterback. So you believe, like I believe, he didn't have the impact. Did he have what he was going to have on the field? Who? JJ. This year? This year. About right, because he did have those quarterback hits. And I think he brought value and mystique to the huddle, you know, where... Hey, we got, that's J.J. Watt. But when I look at the defense, you mentioned Marcus Golden. But listen, Chandler Parsons. Jones. I'm sorry, Chandler Parsons. Yeah, may he rest in peace wherever he is. You know, like he's not in the league anymore. He's out here. Yeah.
Huh? I see him he ride by my streets a lot of times.
Okay. No, I didn't mean he was deceased. I just mean he's not in the league anymore. But Chandler Jones can still do Von Miller things off the edge. And Budda Baker is a terror at safety. And Zaven Collins, who I watched a lot at Tulsa, who they took in the first round, is a stud playmaker of an athlete.
But Jordan Hicks is reps and Isaiah Simmons. So listen,
Isaiah Simmons is a spectacular athlete who's still trying to figure out who he is and where. But he's got some Micah Parsons going,
And Vance has done a great job with this defense. He's like, look, I understand we took Zaven Collins very high, but right now Jordan Hicks is a better player. Jordan Hicks playing. And so this is what we do.
But what I'm saying is they have some raw talent on defense, which is why they're leading the league in points allowed. They've allowed the fewest points in the NFL. We will see them on display against Aaron Rodgers without Devontae and Lazard tonight. Okay, but we'll see because they have a chance to continue to be the best defense in pro football without J.J. Watt, which at this point says it all because he was not able to cap off his career with a Hall of Fame flourish.
Yeah, but Skip, at this point in time, J.J.